From meetings to the stage, this is Communication Studio.
We spend years training people what to say to customers, but almost no time teaching them how to make customers feel calm, respected, and not quietly furious. Because you know the customer that goes, yeah, that's fine. And you're sat there thinking, that's not fine. That's a storm in a teacup, waiting to be upgraded to a mug, or a giant mug as I like to use. And the thing is, the words are often fine, but it's the feeling underneath that's doing all the damage. So today's episode is about the hidden skill behind great communication, the bits that actually matter and make a difference. Not scripts, not slogans, the stuff that makes customers trust you, even when the answer isn't what they wanted. All right, let's get into it. So welcome to Communication Studio. I'm Mike Knott, and this is Communication Studio from meetings to the stage. Today's episode is called The Hidden Skill Behind Great Customer Communication. Now, I want to start with something that might sound a bit blunt. Customers are more stressed, more impatient, and quicker to escalate than ever. And I don't mean customers are getting worse. I mean, the world is louder. Everything is faster. Everything is more convenient. People are juggling more and more. They've got less time, fewer mental calories, and a shorter fuse. So even a small inconvenience, a delay, a billing error, a confusing process can feel like the final straw. People are like, oh, brilliant, another thing that's gone wrong. Can't you do anything right? Great. And here's the tricky part. When customers are stressed, they don't just want a solution, they want a feeling. They want reassurance they're not being ignored. They want a sense of control again. They want to know that somebody's competence is steering the ship, not somebody who doesn't know what they're doing. So yes, you might work in customer service, support, success, sales, onboarding, account management, whatever it might be. But customer communication isn't just customer service. It's emotional management. It's how you help somebody go from I'm annoyed and anxious and ready to explode to, okay, I'm not happy, but I trust this person. We're moving forwards. And the reason I'm calling this a hidden skill is because most training focuses on the first part, the words, the scripts, the things you say, the do's and the don'ts. But the real outcomes are decided by three things. Presence. Do you feel calm and steady or frantic and slippery? Clarity. Do you reduce confusion or do you accidentally add to it? And trust. Do they believe you're on their side or just running through a process and just waiting for the next one? And the good news is you don't need to become ultra smooth as like some sort of customer whisperer. You don't need to be a perfect voice or a perfect personality. You need a handful of habits that create calm and credibility. So in this episode, we'll break it down into 4 segments. Customers aren't listening to your words, they're reading your energy. The 3 customer questions they never ask out loud, and the moment most customer conversations go wrong, and a simple fix. And finally, boundaries. Being warm doesn't mean being weak. And at the end, I'll give you one simple thing to notice this week that will immediately improve your customer conversations. All right, let's go. Let me give you a scenario. A customer calls in or messages or joins a video call. They're already slightly tense, not raging, not calm, just on edge. They're having to deal with this. And you start speaking, and you can almost feel them deciding in real time, am I safe here? Is this person competent? Are they going to make this harder? And that decision happens before they properly process your explanation. Because customers don't experience communication like a transcript. They experience it like a vibe check. And I know vibe check sounds a bit TikTok, but it's real. Customers take their cues from your tone, your pace, your certainty, your breathing, and your ability to sound like you're on their side instead of just defending. So here's the key idea. Customers decide how safe they feel before they process what you're actually saying or proposing or your solution. That's why two people can say the exact same words and get completely different outcomes. Let's compare two different varieties. Option A, I understand your frustration. Option B, okay, let's slow this down and sort it out together. Both are empathetic, but one sounds like a scripted stamp and the other sounds like a person taking control of the situation and calmly. Because customers don't just want empathy, they want containment. They want you to hold the situation steady. Now, a big trap here is what I call over-politeness. Over-politeness is when you try so hard to be nice that you accidentally sound robotic, insincere, or like you're hiding behind a script. Like you're afraid of the customer and like you're just following the process. You know the style. And I imagine everybody's heard this on hold music in particular. This always bugs me with hold music. You know, you're important to us. You're the next caller. And does that ever penetrate your brain, or do you just think, oh, I'm still on hold, I'm still annoyed? An example could be, I do apologize for the inconvenience caused, and I completely understand how you must be feeling at this time, and I'll do my absolute best to assist you with your query. It's not rude, but it's not human. It feels like they're reading the script. It's like the verbal version of a laminated sign you see on the wall. And the big problem is when customers are stressed, robotic politeness doesn't calm them down. It can actually make them feel less seen, less important. Because it feels like you're performing customer service. You're just reading a script, going through the motions, not actually connecting. So instead, we can aim for something warm and simple and human. Phrases like, that makes sense. Yeah, I can see why that's annoying. Okay, let's get this back under control. Or, here's what I can do right now. It's short, simple, grounded, to the point, and really can start to make a simple difference. And if you think about the conversations you've had with customer service, you know, you've been annoyed because this hasn't happened or you need to cancel this. The people who talk to you like that are the people you feel much happier with. They tend to be shorter conversations. You get less frustrated. You have to escalate less often. So it can make a real difference. Now let's talk about pace, because that makes a difference as well. And sometimes it's a subtle thing. It's in the background. It's not necessarily obvious unless you're comparing two examples. One of the fastest ways to lose customer trust is to sound like you're rushing, even if you're being helpful. If they feel like you just want them off the phone or away from their desk or off the chat, it can just ruin the whole moment, even if you're saying the right things. Because rushed energy signals I'm busy, you're a task, I'm going to move on to the next one, I want this over, I'm trying to get rid of you. And customers pick up on that almost immediately. And here's the weird thing. You can give a perfect solution and still cause escalation if you deliver it like you're sprinting downhill. So everything's right in what you're saying and maybe what you're doing, but because it sounds like you're just trying to get rid of them, that's all just lost. So what do? You don't need to become slow and theatrical. You just need to create moments of calm. So you can try dropping your pace just a little bit, sort of 10%, which might be quite hard to figure out. But just drop your pace a little bit, just slow down a little bit and try to remain calm. Just in the first 30 seconds especially. Just make them feel like they are here, they're in this space, you're going to be with them until it's resolved. Not you're trying to get your call time down, or you're trying to get rid of them, or you're trying to move on to the next task, which is more interesting to you. And like I say, not the whole time. You don't want to sound like you're slow. Just make them feel welcome just at the start. Because the first 30 seconds, and this is the same when you meet someone, whether you've got an issue, probably when you're on a date. I'm not sure on that one, but probably. Because the first 30 seconds is when the emotional temperature is set. You might be calling up to complain about something, which is an example I keep giving, but it's just the obvious one in this scenario. And you've gone through maybe their menus. Press 1 for this, press 2 for this. And then you've sat on hold for 5 minutes. And then you get through to someone. And now you're thinking, okay, you're actually going to help me because making this call was painful enough. Your stupid menus annoyed me. Then the hold music was irritating. It kept doing that thing every 30 seconds where it goes, your call's important to us. And you think, have they answered? Oh, they haven't answered. It's just the message again. Then you get through to someone. So now is when it needs to go right because you're on the border of getting annoyed. You understand this whole music. You understand his menus. You don't want them, but you get them. So you're sort of annoyed. Now is the moment when it can all go wrong or it can all go right. So if you are speaking to a customer, whether they're happy or whether they're frustrated, doesn't have to be just frustrated, and you set it to calm and capable, the rest of the conversation is going to be so much easier. If you set it to frazzled and flimsy or chaotic, the customer starts pushing. I notice it in myself. I start getting more annoyed. Okay, look, this has happened. I need this solved. I start becoming a little bit more sort of forceful and slightly less friendly. Not necessarily rude, but I'm not feeling like it's being resolved, so I'm having to be a little bit stronger. It's not a position I want to take. It's not a good feeling. It's not happening for good reasons. And so we need to make sure that we are being calm. And one thing you'll notice, when someone is calm, it's contagious. When someone panics, it's contagious. So if you sound anxious, customers become more anxious. If you sound steady, customers become more steady. Which means the hidden skill behind customer communication is not the words you choose, it's not your vocabulary. It's your emotional way of leading the conversation. It's your emotional leadership. You're leading the nervous system out of the conversation. So, quick practical drill that you can do no matter who you're speaking to, and this can be friends and family as well, it doesn't have to just be customers. The calm opener. So before you explain anything, do 3 things. Firstly, acknowledge them. Okay, I've got you. I'm here to help you with this situation. Let's take this step by step. Keep the pace. Then, signal that you're in control. So maybe you need to ask them a few questions. Now that kind of annoys people sometimes. Okay, I just need to ask you a few questions and then I can take a look at it. And you think, oh God, here we go. Here we go. You're going to ask me what the password was 4 years ago and I have no idea. And you start, again, your heart rate will quicken. You start becoming a little bit more annoyed. They haven't even done anything yet. So signal that you're in control. Look, I'm just going to ask you a couple of quick questions and that will give me the ability to do this. So you're leading to the reason for the questions. You're telling them why it's important that you need it. And if you have some information on them, you can say, look, I've got some of the information. There's a couple of gaps. Just need to fill those in and then we can move on. And it gives people a bit more reassurance. There's a reason for it. It's not just a process that's being followed. And that makes a huge difference because it tells the customer there is a plan. You're not going to have to fight me. You're not having to get stronger with me. There's a plan and I'm going to help you. Okay, up next, the 3 questions customers never ask out loud, but they ask with their behavior. This segment is where I want you to shift how you listen. Because customers ask a lot of surface questions. Why has this happened? Can you fix it? When will it be done? Can you refund it? Can you escalate it? But underneath are 3 silent questions they're always asking, even when they don't realize it. And if you answer the surface question but fail the silent ones, you still get frustration, they'll call back, and they'll escalate. Question 1. Am I being taken seriously? Customers don't just want a solution. They want to know you're not minimizing their experience. They want to feel like a valued customer. So if you jump too quickly into the process, you can accidentally imply this is small, this is routine, I want rid of you, this is not worth my time, even if you don't mean it. It's the impression they get, the perception they get that they're not valuable. For example, let's say a customer says, I've been charged twice. So you might say, right, what you need to do is fill out the online form, and they're thinking, oh my God, really? So I phoned you up and you're sending me online to fill out some sort of form that may or may not solve my problem. They're not hearing that that's helpful. They're hearing, not my problem, please go away and do that somewhere else. Now, a better approach might be, okay, being charged twice is not cool. Let's have a look at this. Can I just confirm the date and the amount? Firstly, first sentence, this matters. I'm going to look into this for you. You're with me and I'm going to help you solve this. You haven't promised anything. You've just taken them seriously. Question 2. Are you confident enough to help me? Now, this is a big one. If you seem like you're not sure, customers can sense it straight away. You get that. You know, you can have that when you go anywhere. Could be a supermarket, you go to customer services, person comes over, seems really confident, knows what they're doing. You think, oh, this person's going to help me. You go over to someone and go, oh, do you know, I'm not sure actually. You think, oh no, how have I ended up with this person? Oh God. And uncertainty makes people frustrated. It also makes people pushier. So you might say, oh, well, I think, or I'm not sure, but, well, it should work if we do that. They're so annoying. And sometimes you might genuinely not know, and that's fine, but you need to manage how that lands, how that message lands with the customer, because uncertainty without any kind of structure just feels like you don't know, feels like incompetence. So instead of, I'm not sure, but I think it should be done soon, you could say, look, I don't want to guess. Here's what I'm going to do. I'll go and check the status right now, and if it's not clear, I'll message the team while we're on this call. Or I'll check with the team in the background and get back to you. The difference is you're admitting you don't know, but you're coming up with a plan. You're not just stood there looking a little bit lost or sounding a bit lost on the call. Customers trust your confidence if you can specify a process that you're going to follow. So I'm not 100% sure on this, but let me check over here. So you've admitted you're not 100% sure, but you have a plan of action. The final one is, are you on my side or just following the rules? And this is kind of like in the category of loyalty. Customers want to feel that you're their representative, you're on their side, you're not just gatekeeping the request. And this is where language matters a lot. So, for example, I think the worst one for me is, there's nothing I can do. That's so infuriating. So you don't know as a customer what to do. You phoned up the helpline, you've gone to the store, you're on a call, you're on an email, and they've said, there's nothing I can do. And you're like, well, what am I supposed to do? You were my only lifeline. Where else am I supposed to go? Other examples could be like, that's policy, I'm afraid. Or you'll have to do this. Or you're going to go and need to do this. And I'll give you an example of where this frustrates me the most is doctors. So you walk into the doctor's surgery and the only option you have is to phone up or go to the receptionist. And you get, oh, sorry, there's nothing I can do. And you think, well, what am I supposed to do then? What's the option? These kind of phrases instantly shift the power away from the customer. And that's where you get a bit of a fight response. So there's nothing I can do. That phrase has never, ever made anybody feel better, ever. Not even in ancient Rome. I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do. Oh, thank goodness. Thank goodness you said that. So what can we say instead? We can say, here's what I can do. Here are the options available. The rule is this, so the best path for you is this. So you're saying it's policy, but you're directing them to another path. You're not just leaving them standing there feeling lost. Or, look, if I were in your shoes, I'd want this fixed too. Let's look at what the fastest option will be. So then you're on their side. You're guiding them through it. You're not just leaving them to it. You're still being honest. You're not breaking any rules. You're just communicating it better with the customer rather than just standing there like a brick wall. And there's one more trap as well, which is explaining process before empathy. When customers are heated or frustrated or inconvenienced, process sounds like an excuse. Again, it sounds like that wall you're putting up to stop them. So they might say, this is ridiculous. Why is this happening? And you go, right, well, our system works like this. They don't hear information. They hear blah, blah, blah. I don't care about your system. I don't know what that means. Sounds like an excuse. So if you can put empathy first, then process, you might say something like, yeah, completely see why you'd be annoyed. Just for a quick bit of context, just so you understand, the reason it happens is because our system does this, and the fix for that is this. Empathy is the key that lets information in. Now I'm going to give you a quick anecdote. So my local supermarket was moving away from an old parent company. Fairly boring story, but they were the first store to try the new system as they'd moved away from the old system. So I made an online order that just got lost, just went into the ether. And I phoned up customer service, my delivery hasn't arrived, so I was annoyed. My delivery, I'd waited in for my slot, just hadn't arrived. Phoned up customer service, got through to somebody fairly useless. Gave them my order ID, and she told me it was in the wrong format. Wasn't the right number of digits. And I'm like, well, I don't know what you want me to do because the order number is this on my email that you sent me. And she was utterly lost and useless. So I wasn't getting anywhere. I tried that 2 or 3 times, got the same sort of response. So very frustrated. I went into the local store. Now, usually they sort of send you away, send you online, but I got through to somebody really competent at customer services. And they said, do you know what it is? We're moving system. I'm so sorry. Let me just check for you and we'll get this sorted out for you. And immediately I was like, and now I know the reason. So now I'm instantly less angry. Yes, I should still have got my delivery. Yes, it shouldn't have happened. But now I can at least understand that a mistake has happened and they're looking into it. Just straight away changed my mood to the whole thing. He came back 30 seconds later, gave me a full refund instantly right there. And I was like, well, obviously I'm not happy it's happened, but I'm no longer really frustrated because I understand why. So to recap, customers are asking silently underneath any other real questions that come up, am I being taken seriously? Are you confident and competent enough to help me? And are you on my side, or are you just following the rules and putting the walls up? If you can answer those 3, customers relax, just like in my story. If you fail them, customers push. They get angrier, they get more annoyed, maybe ruder, even if your solution is actually correct. Okay, up next, the centerpiece of our discussion. The moment when customer conversations go wrong and how to fix it without slowing down. Okay, this is the big one. Most customer conversations don't go wrong because you said the wrong thing. We've covered that in certain situations already. But they go wrong because you said the right thing too early. The mistake is this: we rush to solve before the customer feels heard. And I get why. You're busy, you've got queues, you've got more to do. Maybe this is an interruption in your day. You've got targets. You've got the internal voice saying, oh my God, just move on. But here's the thing. Customers don't want speed first. They want recognition, then resolution. Because if they don't feel heard, they keep talking. They repeat themselves. They escalate. They add extra complaints. They start bringing in history. So ironically, rushing often creates a longer interaction or a more drawn out process. It's like trying to sprint before tying your shoelaces, which when I saw this, I thought that was a great example. So what's the fix? We don't want to just drag everything out, right? We don't want to delay people for the sake of it. It's going to make them more annoyed. So surely the faster the better. But a simple framework that takes no real additional time, but just orders things in the right way, can make a huge difference. So firstly, we name the feeling, then we name the problem, then we name the next step. And that's it. Sounds like a therapy session, so let's break it down. Step 1, naming the feeling. You don't need to be a therapist. You're just showing basic emotional accuracy. That's frustrating. I can see why you'd be worried. Oh, that's a stressful one. Oh, I get why you'd be annoyed. I would be too in this situation. And the main trick is to sound like you mean it. Add some real emotion in there. Like, oh man, that must be so annoying. Let me sort this out for you. It takes a few seconds, but immediately you've mirrored their frustration. And so instantly they feel more at ease. It doesn't feel like you're reading a script or running through a process. So you've acknowledged their situation and their emotion. Now we want to name the problem. This is where you show you're confident and competent to answer their situation. So the issue is that the payment has been duplicated, or maybe the issue is the delivery status hasn't been updated even though it has actually gone out for delivery. Or the issue is actually access permissions to that feature in a piece of software. With my example before, it was the fact they were moving over from systems. So the issue is we're moving systems. We're in between systems right now. So I'm so sorry this has happened. And immediately I'm like, oh, now I understand. It's clear. It's simple. It's like a sentence. So far, we're at 2 sentences. We've not delayed any time, but we've understood their emotion, and then we've named the problem. Now we need to apply the fix. So then we can initiate our plan. Here's what we'll do next. I'm going to reverse the charge. Here's what we're going to do next. I'm going to raise a priority issue over here and solve it. Or here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get your permissions reset. And I can do that, whilst we're talking and get that solved for you. And now if we put it together, we can say, I completely understand why you're frustrated. This is what's happened, and this is what I'm going to do next. It gives the customer an emotional yes. It gives them a feeling of, oh, okay. And then it gives them control of, you're actually going to do something to help me. You haven't fixed it yet, but they feel like you're going to. And immediately they feel better. They're going to give you less grief. They're going to be happier. You can't lose. And once the customer feels like that, they stop fighting you. They're not going to ask for escalations because they feel like you're the person for them. So if we were there before and we were rushing to the answer, customer says, this is the 3rd time I've contacted you. And then you say, okay, can I take your reference number? Oh, it's just so frustrating. It's like, I've read this thing out 15 times. It's 16-digit longs. I'm so tired of doing it. And every time I've done it so far, nothing has been solved. Hence the fact this is the 3rd time I've contacted you. It's not wrong to ask for the reference number. Maybe it's the first thing they need to fill in on their screen. And they don't have a choice, and that's how it works, and that's the process. But it feels cold. It feels like bureaucracy. It feels like a process. And it can trigger the, oh, here we go again. I'm going to be calling up a 4th time, aren't I? So then you get more annoyed, right? But if we could reframe it, same story, but slightly different approach, we could say, the customer says, this is the 3rd time I've contacted you. Yeah, that would drive me mad as well. Let's fix it properly this time. Look, just so I can get into your records, can I grab your reference number again? Same action, totally different effect. The customer now understands, they feel like you're listening to them, and they feel like you are taking them seriously. And then you're kind of like, yeah, they need the reference number. Obviously, of course they do. It's the same thing, just a slightly different effect. Instead of making you more annoyed, it makes you slightly calmer. I mean, it's not going to solve your problem. You're not going, oh, well, great, they understand, problem solved. But it makes you feel like they're in control and they're going to solve it for you. And that's huge. So this doesn't actually slow things down. It takes a few seconds. It's just more ordering things in the right way to make them feel heard, make them understand why it's happened, and then your proposed solution. It prevents repeat calls, prevents that this is the 3rd time I've contacted you, or more emails, or escalating to the CEO, and then which comes down, why is this customer contacting me all the way down to you again to solve? And it prevents any complaints as well. So whether you're in a business, whether you're in your personal life, this sort of thing can make a huge difference. Because customers don't escalate if they feel like things are progressing. They escalate when they feel dismissed or it's taking too long. One more key point, sometimes feeling heard isn't about empathetic words, it's about proof of listening. So you can do that by summarizing in one clean line, like just to make sure I've got it. You were charged twice on Friday, you've had no confirmation since, and you'd really like it sorted today. When you summarize it, customers go, yes, they get it. They've listened. Finally. And this is why it's so important, because just by doing that, it's just so simple. You've just repeated it back to them. You've given some emotional connection. You've identified the problem and what the solution is going to be. You haven't changed anything particularly, but the way you've communicated it makes them feel so much better. It also does another thing as well. So in today's world, more than ever, we're a service economy. So even if you sell retail goods, it's the service the customer gets that they really care about. Amazon is an incredibly popular retailer because people like the reliability of delivery. And they like the reliability of being able to go on Amazon, find whatever they like, add to their basket, and the checkout process is so simple. It's just, I'll just go to Amazon. It's a pain for some other companies because they've got it right. And other companies are trying to do the same thing. And if you have a bad experience on a website where it keeps logging you out, or it's an absolute pain to go through, it doesn't save your details, or the delivery is unreliable and it can take a long time, you might even pay slightly more to go for that more convenient approach. So if you can, when there is a problem, and problems will always occur, unfortunately, it's just the way things go. If you can repair that customer's sense of belonging and safety, and yeah, we've got you, look, we really saw this happen, here's what we're going to do to fix it. You repair their sense of safety. Up next, boundaries. Because being calm and warm doesn't mean letting customers walk all over you. Let's talk about something a lot of customer-facing people struggle with. You want to be helpful, you want to be kind, you want to be human. And sometimes that turns into apologizing too much, over-explaining, or absorbing the customer's emotions as if you caused them personally. So here's the key idea. Being warm doesn't mean being weak. In fact, customers often feel safer when you have calm authority. Because if you seem unsure, they'll push you. If you seem solid, they relax. Now, a classic problem here is over-apologizing. Apologies are great. They're good when you made a mistake, the company made a mistake, the customer has genuinely been harmed or inconvenienced. But constant apologizing can reduce credibility. It can make you sound like you're begging for forgiveness rather than just solving their problem, and that's not what they're there for. So instead of saying sorry 6 times, you can use a mix of, that's not what you should be dealing with. Okay, let me take it from here. Here's what I'm going to do next. No actual apology in there, but a real understanding. And it's still empathetic, and it communicates leadership, but there are some boundaries in there. So next, how do you say no without triggering a conflict? Because that's what they don't want to hear, right? They don't want to hear there's a no, but sometimes there is a no. Like, no, we can't refund that. You're not actually due a refund for that. No, we can't do it today. You can keep telling me you need it today. It won't be done today. No, we can't change our policy just for you. That's why it's our policy. Or no, I'm afraid that's out of the scope of what you've actually purchased or agreed to. The worst way to say no is blunt policy language. We've covered that already. So it's better to validate, state the reality, offer the best alternative, and then close with control. Here's an example. The customer says, I want a full refund and I want it today. So you say, I get why you'd ask for that. I can't process a full refund in this case because the service has actually already been used. What I can do is apply a credit for next month or escalate a review if you feel there are exceptional circumstances. Which option would you prefer? You didn't argue, you didn't lecture, you didn't hide behind policy. You gave them options and you explained why they can't have their initial request. Options create calm. Now, you're still saying no. They're not going to love you. They're not going to say, oh, thank God you said no. I was hoping you'd do that. But they have a calmer reaction. It's harder to react badly to that because you've given a clear reason why you can't give what they asked for and you've given alternatives. Another boundary-based skill is the difference between empathy and emotional surrender. Empathy is, I understand how you feel. Emotional surrender is, you're right, this is terrible, we are useless. Some people do that because they're trying to bond, but they just go a bit too far. It can backfire because it confirms the worst fears for the customer. So keep your empathy steady and in check and simple. I always think simpler the better. I can see why you're upset. I'm here with you. Let's get this sorted together. You're emotionally present, but you haven't added any fuel. You haven't gone too far. You haven't over-explained. You can be human and professional, and it's not a trade-off. Warm voice, clear boundaries, calm authority. That combination builds trust faster than any script or process will. All right, let's wrap this up with the takeaway and a simple challenge for this week. So here's the main takeaway from today. Customers remember how you made them feel long after they forget what you actually said. They might not remember the exact policy detail. They might not remember the exact steps, but they will remember how you made them feel. If you made them feel calm, respected, taken seriously, and safe. And you don't need perfect scripts to do that. You need presence, clarity, and calm, confidence. That's what will lead to customers saying, oh yeah, I love that company. They were really good. I had to phone them up for an issue. I can't remember what the issue was now, but called them up and they were great. They just handled it straight away. That's the sort of conversation you'll hear at parties and at dinner and, in the office, that sort of thing. They won't even remember what they actually complained about. Or they'll say something like, oh yeah, I needed a refund once and I called up, got through to this great person and they were phenomenal. And that's all they'll tell you. They won't tell you the details, the process, how long it took. They'll just tell you how they felt in that interaction. So pick one interaction, ideally a customer interaction or a personal interaction. One call, one email chain, one chat, one interaction, like I said, in the supermarket, in a shop, at the doctor's, and notice not what is said or what you said, but how they showed up or how you showed up, depending on your role. Did the situation bring calm? Did the situation feel rushed? Was the next step dealt with? And was there what can I do for you language? And was the feeling named before the solution presented? Because once you start noticing that, you start improving quickly and customers feel it immediately. And you start noticing, oh, that's why I liked that person and not that person. Because it's not as simple as, oh, I just really liked them. It's how they made you feel. That's what makes you feel like you liked them. Because like is a weird word, right? It's oh, I really like them. What do you mean? Why do you like them? And you can't often explain why you like someone. They just make you feel nice. And that could be just a friendship, a professional relationship. It's how people make you feel. You can even make it a bit of a game. So here's an escalation, right? How can I lower the emotional temperature of this conversation? And when you nail it, it's satisfying. Because you just didn't just solve a problem, you helped a person feel better again, feel nicer, feel happier. And that's a real hidden skill, and you can take a bit of a bit of credit for that and say, yeah, I really helped that person today. They had a problem and I've made them feel better about it. So if you enjoyed this one, please share it with someone who deals with customers all the time or likes a complaint, people who love going to the shops to complain. Share it with them as well. And especially for people who say, oh, that's fine, when it isn't, because that's not good enough. And we really shouldn't be experiencing that. And from me at Communication Studio, I will see you in the next episode. Thank you very much for listening.